Hi, friends. It's good to see you again. And if we haven't met before, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Ochanya Wells, and I've been in the community of developmental differences, probably going on about 18 years. And so I've been in and out of collaboration with Connecting for Kids in many different ways. Some on the professional side, as I do have a directorship at a local agency, but also being able to attend fun resource fairs. And now I'm on board and able to spend some time with you guys this evening. So I hope this is informative. No question is a bad one. So please, 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 if there's something you would like to know more about, or if something sparks your interest this evening, we are here to help. And let's get started. Yay. So when you're talking about emotional regulation and really trying to understand, good grief, like, why does my kid do this? Why are they struggling with this? Why do they do this? What am I doing? What am I not doing? It's so easy to really get kind of caught up in the whys, right? And what we really want to be focusing on is initially, like, the why matters, of course. But what I want to talk to you about a little bit tonight is kind of how to dissect that what. So looking at the topography of your child's behavior when they're upset, and then figuring out how to categorize what those emotions could be based on what you see. So Nicole, if you want to pull up that first tool for us, we have a cute little social story. And the thing with social stories is that there are some kids who, it is the perfect tool for them. It's exactly what they need to kind of really understand visually what it is they could be struggling with. And so this is just an example. Are you able to find it? Do you see it?
I am. I'm apparently not able to record and screen share at the same time, so that's fun. But here we go.
There it is. Okay. So obviously the little people, like, they're adorable. Doesn't always look like our children, though. So the cool thing about social stories is that you can make them personalized to your child. And so in some capacities, you can do this with actual pictures of you and your family. If you prefer to stick to the cartoons, finding cartoons that actually look like your child as closely as possible. So that way there's some sense of ownership and understanding, like, hey, this is supposed to represent what it is I'm going through. So if you could blow that up for me just a little bit. Mama's eyes are getting a little raggedy as I get older. Thank you so much. So this is an example of how you can take a couple of different images and put it in panels. And each panel shows a different aspect or a different component of the kind of upset continuum. I think that's what I'm going to call it for you guys tonight. Okay. So the first one, it's, showing our little friend here, and they're expressing that sometimes they get mad or sad. Everybody feels this way from time to time. And so whatever the emotion might be, and whatever the causation of an excitable body or anything opposite of a calm body might be, what you want to try to do as much as possible is normalize that feeling for your child. And so by starting off with the statement that everybody feels this way occasionally, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to feel, afraid. It's okay to be frustrated. You're already kind of normalizing, like, it's okay. It's not the feeling that's, getting in the way. It might be the response to that feeling. Okay. Sometimes I feel happy and other times I feel frustrated or mad. This is normal. So again, continuing with that normalization, you want them to understand that sometimes when children are very mad, they might kick, pinch, bite, push. Every child has a different thing that they do when they're upset. If your child does not engage in physical aggression when they're upset, I don't think it's anything wrong with letting them know that sometimes somebody might, if they go to school with someone who might have a rough day, and this is how they express their frustration. Can you scroll down for me, Nicole, just a little bit? There she is. Oh, look at her shoes. They match her jacket. I love her. So if the things that are happening with your child, if I do these things, it will hurt someone else and they will feel sad, and that's not okay. So then you start getting into the explanation of again, it's not the feeling, right? It's okay to be sad, but how you respond to that sadness. This is where the teaching aspect of your social story begins. So remember, it starts off with identifying what it is you're talking about. You're normalizing what you're talking about. And now you're getting into teaching as to how to respond to the feeling or the emotion that you're normalizing for your child. There are some ways I can calm down when I'm mad or frustrated. So images here, it shows a nice cozy beanbag, looks like some putty, deep breaths, taking a walk. I'm sure these are all things that even some adults I know who don't have difficulty with regulating their emotions like to do. I have so many fidgets in my desk at work, I can't even tell you where half of them came from. So again, sometimes mom gets upset, sometimes dad gets upset. Here's some things I do. I like to take deep breaths. Let's practice. So in the next frame, it shows a young lady taking 5 deep breaths. 5 is not a magic number. It's just the go-to number for trying to build that pattern or that habit. So if you need to take 10 breaths, that's fine. If your kid is a 1 breath, big breath in, exhale, and then they can be redirected back to task, that's okay too. So don't feel obligated to take 5 breaths if that's not appropriate for your kiddo. So again, it shows a friend here going for a walk, if that's something that your child would benefit from. And then next screen, please. There we are. So finding a quiet place to take a break. It doesn't have to be a beanbag. It could be a favorite room in the house. It could be under a tree in the backyard. Work with your child and identify what that quiet place or that calming place will be, and try to be as consistent as possible with that. Obviously, if you're in public or, if they're at school, it might be a little different, but have a space in your house that can be the quiet zone or the calm zone. Not to be confused with timeout, because that's very, very different. But if they need to take a break and you see that they're getting frustrated, they can have that consistent place in your home to kind of relax and decompress. Again, we see some fidgets here. If it's age appropriate, at school, they might ask for a hug. Obviously at home, I'm 37 years old and I still hug my parents. So no one's ever too old for a hug, even when they're upset, but ask for a hug. If it will make them feel better. So let them know that you're accessible to them to kind of add that comfort. And then also reading a book or listening to some music. So building in leisure activities that can help kind of, to get that calmness that they're looking for. Sometimes enjoying something that they like might help calm. And I think sometimes people will occasionally get a little confused with that, because I get the question a lot, well, why would I reinforce him with something he likes if he's upset? And the difference is it doesn't necessarily have to be a reinforcing item, whereas like you do this and then I give you this. If it's calming and if it adds that regulation, that self-regulation that you're looking for, then it can be used as a tool. It doesn't necessarily just have to be a reinforcer. And I have a feeling I'm going to get a few questions about that. I'm prepared. We can talk it out. I'm ready. But I just wanted to plant that little seed because that's a question we get a lot. And down at the bottom here, it says, I can look at my book to decide which might help me. So having this accessible, I know a lot of families like to laminate these tools and make sure that they're, basically rip-proof, spill-proof. And so if your child is having a hard time identifying in the moment, what can I do to calm myself down? It's okay to pull this out and be like, well, remember, we read this yesterday. Let's go over it again. What are some things we can do? And normalize the use of having something accessible to them. So that way they have a shared sense of ownership over it. And then hopefully in the end, they're able to retrieve this on their own if they forget. I can take a walk, or I can get a fidget, or I can use, music or go sit in a calm place, or whatever the case may be. So the tool is mostly for the child to learn what they're supposed to do. Your job in utilizing this tool is to help them learn how to use it. Okay, but this is something that you want them to use as independently as possible if they're capable. And also a lot of repetition. So I know some families, they read social stories every night before bed, or they read social stories before something that typically triggers or causes a behavior. So if you know that transitions are difficult for your child, pulling this out, going through it with them quickly before you go into that transition can help them, almost like a latency prompt where it's like, wait a minute, we just talked about this 2 seconds ago. All I have to do is tell you I need a hug and it's okay. You mean I don't have to hit you? No way. So again, social stories are not for everybody, but they are very, very helpful. There's a lot of data and a lot of research in support of them. So we wanted to add this to your kit as something to use, if that was something you'd be interested in probing with your child. So if we can move on to the next tool here. Oh, that is very small.
I got you, girl. Here we go.
Okay. I'm like, nope. Tantrum Tamer. Okay, so praising children. It is so easy. So easy. And this has nothing to do with developmental differences or behaviors, or take all of those things out of the picture and just focus on the child, right? It's really, really easy to focus on the things that our kids are not doing, or the things that our kids are not doing the way we'd like for them to, for example. But in terms of like remembering the things that they are getting right, even if it's just an attempt, it's not quite perfect, but they gave it their all, they gave it good effort. You want to acknowledge that. It doesn't necessarily have to be over the moon, sing-songy, turn a cartwheel if that's not your style. But just saying like, dude, that was so cool. I didn't know you could do that. Praise does not have to be good job. And if you say good job, you want to make sure that you're good job what? Right? Just like when we're redirecting behavior, we want to be behavior specific. When you're praising a behavior, you want to be behavior specific as well, because you're looking for that behavior that you praised to increase. You want to see it again and again and again. And so the more reinforcement you offer, the more likely it will be that they'll continue to do what they got praised for. So let's get into some of these ideas here. Full attention. I mean, honestly, in the days of technology, what does that even mean anymore? But giving your child full attention. So, I think all of us at some point have either experienced or have seen, when your kid like runs in the room and they're super excited about something and they're like, mommy, 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 or daddy, 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 daddy. And then they're like, look what I can do. And then they like jump like 2 feet or 2 inches. 2 feet would be impressive. 2 inches off the floor. And you're like, oh, great. Right? Like they do things like this to try to get your attention. They want to engage with you. They want to drag you or pull you in and have that connection with you. So as painful as it might be, 1 out of the 5 times that they show you something completely whack, just try to be excited and try to, really just engage with them in that moment. Like, cool, dude, look at you. You are getting so strong. Make eye contact, right? Try to not be distracted. You want to encourage your child to explore, to be independent, try new activities. Be sincere in your praise. Say it when you mean it. Our kids know when we are not being authentic. They know. And so, sometimes like our kids will go out of their way to try to snuggle up or ask questions if they're verbal. Other times, even our kiddos who don't have language, sometimes they know when we're not at our best. And so you want to try to be as authentic and say it when you mean it as possible. Try to be specific, use descriptive words and phrases, as I just mentioned, and then vary your praise, right? If you went to work every single day and your boss was like, great, Candy, crickets, right? Like what? What does that mean? What does that mean? Great, what? What am I doing? So if you're varying that praise, it's also ever changing, right? Because our kids are growing and changing, and you just want to make sure that it matches their personalities. Focus on your child's efforts. It's not just the end product. It's okay to say nice try. It's okay to say I appreciate you, giving it your best try. I can tell you tried hard. So that way their disappointment, if they are disappointed, is not the end all. And it's not the feeling that they leave that situation or that interaction with you with. Pause and then give your child the opportunity to recognize what they've done and to feel good about it. So sometimes I like to ask my students, are you proud of yourself? It's one thing for me to be proud of them, but it's a whole nother thing for them to be proud of themselves. And so you want to try to instill that and see if they, can process and recognize, I just did a really great thing. I did something really cool, and help them celebrate that accomplishment. Helping your child in the first few steps of a multi-stepped activity, and then allowing them to finish the last couple of steps. In the nerdy world of behaviorism, we call this chaining. This would actually be a backwards chain. So starting something with heavy prompts or minimal prompts, and then finishing with independence. So you get the reinforcement at the end of the task. That's actually really cool. Something like tying your shoes, right? So we use those verbal prompts occasionally. Like, okay, crisscross the laces, tie them in a bow. And, sometimes there's bunny ears, sometimes there's foxes in woods. You'd be surprised how many animals are involved in shoe tying. It kind of blows me away. I don't get it. But anyway, you have, Nicole, I can hear your laughter with the mute on. There's so many different ways to teach it, right? But that final tug at the end, where that bow is pulled tight and they look down and the shoe is tied, and you're like, wow, you did it. Even though they didn't do it completely independently, they feel like they did because they were able to finish it independently with success. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So before you say good job, think about some alternatives here, right? So you can say you did it all by yourself. You could say that was so gentle. Thank you. If you're dealing with pets or animals or a younger sibling, there are many, many ways to praise your child aside from saying good job. So try to tie in some more language to make it as unique as your kiddo is. Okay. All right. What's our next tool here? All right, so this is similar to, thank you. This is similar to a social story, but it's just kind of a one-page reference. So it's almost like a cheat sheet when you're getting into calming strategies. And so it shows our friend here. He is very angry. You've got the exaggeration in the eyebrows and the steam coming out of his ears. Now, obviously, I don't know a person who really emits steam from their faces when they're mad. If you do, that's a problem. But this is the way we describe really, really angry people. And so your child, you want them to be able to look at this picture and recognize, hey, this person's not okay. Okay, so then at the bottom, again, it kind of gives some visual depictions of things that they can do when they are upset. So again, comparing this to the social story, if the social story is too long for your child, if they're not able to sit for long periods of time and really read through those 2 pages, if you just want to keep it short and simple, you can just have visuals that are simple, like on this single page here. I know some people who even cut out these pictures, laminate them, and put them on a ring. Right? So the kid can kind of flip through the rings and figure out, what they want to do if they can't scan. So, I don't want you guys to see these tools and think that it's kind of a one-stop end all. You can really take these and adapt them and modify them to benefit your needs and your child's needs. And obviously, if you have any questions about how you can do that, we can get into that after the presentation. Okay?
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and